Every time you use an excuse, you sign a contract with failure. It may sound harsh, but it's true, because an excuse is not a reason. It's an invisible decision to give up. And what's most serious is that most people don't realize they're living justifying their stagnation with arguments that sound logical, but that in reality are only designed to protect their comfort zone. How many times have you said you don't have time, that you don't have money, that you're not ready, that now is not the moment, and yet the world is full of people who started with less than you and achieved more, because the problem was never the excuse. The problem was that you believed it. This audiobook is not to listen to it on autopilot. It's to confront you, to shake you up and make you understand that as long as you keep justifying your limits, they're going to keep controlling your life. Here you're not going to find empty motivation. You're going to find truth, rawness, and real tools to stop talking like a victim and start acting like a protagonist. We're going to tear down each excuse one by one. I'm going to show you how to detect them, how to dismantle them, and how to replace them with decisions that bring you closer to your best version. I'm not going to speak to you with delicacy, because your excuses are not delicate with you. They rob you, they break you, they turn you off. This is a war audiobook, and the enemy is you, or rather that part of you that learned to give up before trying. Prepare yourself to stop negotiating with your limits and start building an identity without excuses. Because when the only obstacle is you, you're also the only solution. Chapter 1. The perfect excuse. It doesn't exist. There's a voice in your mind that always sounds reasonable, convincing, logical. It's the voice that tells you, today is not the moment. You don't have the money. You need to prepare more. It's already too late to start. And that voice is not your direct enemy. It's more dangerous. It's your undercover ally, because it pretends to protect you when in reality it's sabotaging you. Every time you listen to it, you justify it with something that seems valid, but you're only masking your fear with intelligent arguments. The perfect excuse doesn't exist. What exists is fear well-dressed, well-spoken, well-structured. A person with true hunger, without excuses, makes things happen even in the worst of conditions. Meanwhile, someone full of excuses paralyzes even in the best opportunities. It's not the environment. It's not the government. It's not the partner. It's not the economy. It's what you decide to do with it that defines you. Two people face the same storm. One drowns. The other learns to surf it. What differentiates them? It's not the resources. It's a mentality. The excuse is an internal factory, and you're the production boss. If you keep allowing that machinery to function, you'll keep manufacturing reasons not to advance. But if you turn off the factory, you begin to open the way. The difference between someone who advances and someone who stagnates is not in their level of talent, but in their level of commitment. And nobody committed gives up to an excuse. Think of it this way. Every time you justify your lack of action, you're rejecting your future. Imagine that success is a person who knocks on your door, and you don't open because you're saying, I'm not ready. Better in January. It's just that I don't have fast internet. Do you realize how absurd it sounds when you put in words? But you do it every day. Today I want you to understand it without makeup. The most common excuse is not I don't have time. It's I prefer to do nothing, because doing would confront me with myself. Most don't fear failing. They fear discovering they could have done it, and didn't try, because that hurts more than any defeat. This chapter is a declaration of war on the most comfortable lie you've told yourself. Here there's no place to justify yourself, only to take responsibility. Because when you stop saying, I can't because of this, or because of that, and you begin to say, I'm going to do it with what I have, from where I am and how I can, that's when everything starts to turn in your favor. The first step to defeat your excuses is to stop calling them reasons. Call them by their name. Look at them head on and tear them to pieces with actions. In the next chapter, you'll learn to identify the most dangerous excuses, those that sound noble but keep you poor, stagnant, or paralyzed, and how to train your mind to deactivate them at the exact moment they appear. Chapter 2. How to detect an excuse before it sabotages you. Excuses don't always shout. Many times they whisper. They disguise themselves as logic, as prudence, as common sense, and that's why they're so dangerous, because they infiltrate without resistance, without you realizing it. You've already accepted them. You already repeat them as absolute truths, and so they sabotage your path with your own consent. An excuse doesn't present itself as an enemy. It presents itself as a friend, as a good counselor, and that's why it's so hard to identify it. For example, when you say, "It's just that I'm very tired today," it may seem you're taking care of your health. But if you've been saying it for months, it's no longer health. It's a habit of evasion. Or when you say, "I need to research more before starting," it may seem like an intelligent decision, but if you never start, you're using research as an excuse not to act. The strongest excuses are not the ones that sound absurd. They're the ones that sound intelligent. One of the most common is, "I want to do it perfect." It sounds like excellence, but many times it's just fear of error, of criticism, of judgment, and you end up postponing everything that matters while you shield yourself in perfection. The most effective way to detect an excuse is to ask yourself, does this that I'm saying bring me closer or take me away? Because everything that doesn't move you stops you. And what stops you, no matter how pretty it sounds, is an obstacle, even if it comes with elegant justification. Another sign that you're facing an excuse. If you said it more than 3 times in different contexts, if you repeat it every week, if you tell it to yourself without advancing, it doesn't matter what it is. It's an excuse on autopilot, and you must turn off that engine. To help you, write a list of the phrases you repeat when you don't do what you know you should do, and then observe them without mercy. How many of those phrases would be valid if your life depended on achieving it? How many would a champion use in full preparation for their most important moment? How many are truths? And how many are just fears in disguise? Remember this. Each excuse is a closed door that you yourself blocked and that only you can open. But to open it, you need to stop looking for new excuses and start building true reasons. In the next chapter, I'll teach you an immediate mental technique to stop the chain of thought that feeds excuses and how to replace it with a clear order to the brain that generates instant action, even when you don't have motivation. Chapter 3. The formula to destroy an excuse in 5 seconds. Excuses gain power when you think too much, because each second you doubt is a second your brain takes advantage of to build arguments in favor of inaction. That's why it's not about thinking better, but about thinking less and acting faster. Time is a terrain where excuses grow. If you close it, they have nowhere to take root. The technique is brutally simple, but effective. Countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Action. Don't allow your mind to have time to debate. Because if you give it space, it will seek to protect you. Avoid risk, postpone the uncomfortable, and all of that has a cost. Your future. The principle behind this technique is biological. Your brain has 2 modes, the rational and the instinctive. When you think too much, the rational activates, and with it come all the doubts, the justifications, the fears. But if you act before thinking too much, the impulse takes control, and then you move without blocking yourself. Does it cost you to get up early? Don't think about it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. Does it cost you to make that important call? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, dial. Are you afraid to publish that video? Start that project. Say what you think. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it. The key is not allow your mind to enter, to sabotage you with rational excuses while you simply move. There's a story of the ancient Spartans that when they went to war, they didn't carry provisions for a retreat. There was no plan B, only one path: advance. That's a mentality you need to install in seconds. Because when you give yourself a clear and fast order, without margin to retreat, your whole body enters into alignment with action. The next time your mind wants to negotiate, respond with logic, or build an elegant excuse, don't debate, don't analyze, just breathe. Count down and act as if your life depended on it, because many times it does. In the next chapter, you'll learn to design a routine so simple that your mind won't be able to reject it, and how to change small actions so that change feels inevitable even on bad days. Because if you don't design your habits, your excuses will do it for you. Chapter 4. How to create habits that beat your excuses. Great changes are not born from great decisions, but from small actions that repeat in silence. Because the true enemy is not the lack of willpower, but the excessive complexity. When something is difficult, your mind looks for excuses. When it's simple, it has nowhere to grab onto. That's why, if you want to destroy an excuse, Make it have nowhere to hide. Design a habit so small, so ridiculously easy, that even on your worst day you can fulfill it without negotiating. Do you want to start reading? Start with a single page. Do you want to start exercising? Do one push-up, one squat, whatever, but make it so easy you can't say no. This principle is called minimum viable action, and it's a tool used by athletes, entrepreneurs, and highly disciplined people. Not because every day they have motivation, but because every day they have a micro-agreement with themselves that's never broken. Each habit begins as a brick, and each day you place it, no matter how small it is, you're building an invisible wall that protects you from mental sabotage. But if you leave a space, an excuse enters, and an excuse rarely comes alone. There's a story of a Japanese writer who promised himself to write at least one line a day, just one. The trick was so effective, he ended up writing more than 20 books in 10 years. Why? Because starting is harder than continuing. And if you reduce the friction at the beginning, you've already won half the battle. Make your habit not need motivation, just automatic execution. Prepare the book on the table. Leave the sneakers ready from the night before. Put the timer on the desk. Eliminate any point of friction before your mind uses it as an argument, because if you allow it, it will use it. And if you fail one day, don't fail two, because the second day is where the pattern is born. It's not the error that destroys a habit. It's the repetition of the error. Remember, excuses are builders of ruins, but habits, no matter how small, are builders of empires. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to disarm one of the most common and dangerous excuses, and how to use a 10-minute technique to advance even on the most chaotic days, because it's not lack of time, it's lack of decision. Chapter 5. How to destroy the excuse of I don't have time. The most popular excuse in the world is not I can't, it's I don't have time. And the curious thing is it's used both by those who do nothing and those who want everything. But there's a brutal truth nobody wants to accept. If something doesn't have a space in your day, it's because it doesn't have a space in your scale of priorities. We all have the same 24 hours. What changes is what we decide to protect within them, and what you leave out dies. That's why, if you don't schedule your dreams, the world is going to schedule excuses for you. Unnecessary meetings, social media, others' tasks, distractions disguised as urgency. There's a story about Warren Buffett and his personal pilot. The pilot confessed he had a list of 25 goals. Buffett asked him to choose the 5 most important, and then told him to avoid the other 20 at all costs, because they were the ones that would distract him most without seeming to. The same thing happens with your time. It doesn't completely escape you. It disguises itself as things half important, half urgent, half necessary, and in the end, they end up stealing your whole day. The antidote is brutal but simple. Block a fixed time, even if it's 10 minutes, and defend it with your life. It doesn't matter if you're tired, if your schedule is full, or if you believe that small space serves for nothing. Those 10 daily minutes can become 60 hours a year dedicated to you. And do you know what you can build in 60 hours? Anything. A song, a brand, a stronger body, a new skill, a more disciplined mentality. 10 minutes a day don't make you successful tomorrow, but they make you impossible to stop in a year if you say you don't have time. But you spend an hour a day on your phone. It's not time you lack. It's truth. And if you wait to have free time, you're never going to start. Because free time is not found, it's manufactured. And only those who decide to take control of the clock instead of being victims of it manufacture it. In the next chapter, you'll discover how your mind creates excuses disguised as logic, and how to identify the difference between a real justification and a mental trap that only seeks to keep you in the comfort zone. Chapter 6. When your mind wants to deceive you with logical reasons, your mind doesn't always want the best for you. Sometimes it only wants the most comfortable. And it's so cunning it's not going to tell you. Don't do it because you're weak. It's going to tell you, today is not the best day. You should wait a little more. You're not prepared yet. And you, without realizing it, believe it. The most dangerous excuses are not the obvious ones. They're the ones that sound reasonable, the ones that arrive with a friendly tone of voice and convincing arguments, like an internal lawyer who always finds an elegant way out to not owe it tomorrow when you'll be more rested. Better prepare more before beginning. First, organize everything, and then, yes, you start. And so, day after day, you stay still believing you're thinking when in reality you're postponing. Imagine a warrior who before going to battle starts to ask himself if the sword is well sharpened, if the climate is adequate, if his armor is strong enough, and in the middle of so many questions, the battle passes him by. That's you when you justify your non-actions with disguised logic. There's a phrase attributed to Epictetus. It's not what happens to you that stops you. It's what you tell yourself about what happens to you. And that applies exactly here. Your mind is a factory of stories. Some empower you, others paralyze you. And if you don't learn to distinguish them, you're going to confuse prudence with fear and wisdom with self-deception. How to know if a reason is real or is a disguised excuse? Simple. If that reason appears every time you're going to advance, it's an excuse. If that voice always appears when you're about to leave your comfort zone, it's a mental trap. If that logic takes you away from your goal instead of bringing you closer, it's fear dressed as sensibility. The solution is not in silencing that voice. It's in ignoring it while you act. Let speak while you decide to move anyway, like who listens to background noise but doesn't stop their path, because they understood that if they wait for the perfect moment, the only thing they're going to receive is perfect regret. In the next chapter, you'll learn to transform discomfort, frustration, or even falls into fuel to advance, and how to make each wound a reason more, not a reason less. Chapter 7. How to use pain as impulse instead of excuse. Pain doesn't always arrive to break you. Sometimes it appears to remind you that you're still alive, that you still have something to heal or something to overcome. But if you don't know how to read it, you confuse it with a signal of surrender and you use it as an argument to stop, when in reality it came to give you direction. Think of a muscle that hurts after training. That pain is not a signal of damage. It's a signal of growth. It's the footprint that you dare to go beyond. So also hurts rejection, failure, loss, or criticism. Not because they destroy you, but because they're remodeling the weak version of you. There's a story that represents it perfectly. They say a young man approached a wise man and told him, "Master, I can't take this pain anymore." The wise man asked him to carry a sack of heavy stones and walk with it. After a few minutes, the young man said, "This hurts." And the wise man answered him, "So, are you to drop the sack and stay the same, or are you going to keep walking until your back gets stronger?" That's the point. Pain can be your burden or your training. You can use it to justify why you didn't do what you wanted, or to demonstrate that despite everything you did it anyway. The greats are not born without wounds. They're born after choosing that those wounds are not going to define them, but strengthen them. Each excuse that comes from pain has an antidote. The decision not to repeat the story, to change the script, to demonstrate to yourself that you're no longer the same one who gave up for the same thing. Use your pain as proof, not as prison. Every time it hurts you to get up, continue. Insist. Remember that that same pain is what someday will make you say, "I didn't stop when everything told me to do it." And that's where pain stops being an excuse and becomes pride. In the next chapter, I'll show you how your actions betray your excuses, even when you think nobody realizes it, and how to change that before it becomes your identity. Chapter 8. The Uncomfortable Truth. Your excuses are more visible than you think. You don't need to say your excuses out loud. Your way of speaking, of acting, of moving is already shouting them for you. Because every body that doesn't advance betrays itself. Every face that doesn't shine speaks. Every habit you repeat evidences that behind there's an excuse disguised as reason. Do you know someone who always says they're going to do something but never does it? At first you believe them, then you listen to them. Later you tolerate them, and in the end you simply stop taking them seriously. The same happens with you, but inside you, your mind registers every time you postpone, every time you justify, every time you repeat a pattern, and starts to stop trusting you. Excuses have a vibration, and even though you believe you're deceiving the world with your words, your energy already said it all. There are those who present themselves as dreamers, but their body vibrates resignation. There are those who promise to change, but their eyes don't have fire. There are those who swear this time they will achieve it, but keep sitting waiting for motivation. The uncomfortable truth is this: if you do nothing, it shows. And if you do little, it also shows. The problem is you got used to living as if nobody noticed it. as if you could keep hiding in the fog of your own justifications. But it's not about what others see, it's about what you allow, because each excuse you repeat installs itself as an unconscious order. There's a mirror that never lies, and it's not the bathroom one. It's the reflection you see in your life, in your results, your relationships, your level of peace or frustration. That mirror tells you exactly how much space you've given to your excuses. And if you don't like what you see, don't complain, change it. Break the cycle where your mind creates excuses faster than you act, and start sending a clear signal with each step you take. Because when your acts speak louder than your words, excuses are left without a microphone. In the next chapter, you'll discover a direct and powerful guide with the rules followed by those who defeat their excuses, so you too can live under a code that doesn't allow retreat. Chapter 9. The Manual of Those Who Don't Give Up. There are people who seem to have something different, a firmer gaze, a more decided step, an invisible force that sustains them when others fall. But it's not luck, it's not talent. It's that they have an internal manual, a set of unwritten rules they don't negotiate with their excuses. And today you're going to write yours. The first rule is this: don't think about it so much. Do it because every time you doubt your excuses, gain time. The one who acts without giving space to the but builds in the moment when others are still deciding if it's worth trying. The second rule: never stop at the first obstacle. If it were easy, everyone would have already done it. And if they haven't done it, it's because it requires more than most are willing to give. The third rule: protect everything. Your energy, your environment, your word. Who takes care of their environment, takes care of their focus. Who takes care of their word, takes care of their destiny. If you say you're going to do something, do it, not for others, but for your internal credibility. The fourth rule: pain is not your enemy, it's your test. If it hurts, it's because you're breaking the barrier of your old self, and that's good. And the last rule: never go back because of fear. If you already walked, if you already suffered, if you already learned, don't go back because of nostalgia, because of insecurity, or because of comfort. Continue, even if you don't see results yet, because sometimes success is behind the next attempt you were going to abandon. This is your new code, a personal manual that doesn't need to be written on paper, but in actions, in daily decisions that reflect that this time is different, that you're not going to negotiate with what makes you weak, that you're not going to tolerate the excuses that before dominated you, and that your life from now on moves under other laws, yours. Those are the one who doesn't give up. You no longer have excuses, and you don't need external motivation either. What you have now is a clear path, an internal manual, and the certainty that true power doesn't come from what you think you're going to do, but from what you do without justifying yourself, without applause, without validation. This is not just the end of an audiobook. It's the beginning of a new stage where you stop being your obstacle and become your best ally, where each decision reflects that you no longer need anyone to understand it because you have it clear. Repeat this book when you need it. Write it in your routine, in your difficult days, and in your good days, so the internal enemy doesn't have a voice again, because now who commands is you.